All right, here we go again. I am trying to keep up with, as I promised, 3 videos in one day for the first time for me, even if it's a small part of what I'm doing. Hopefully this will spread a little bit faster. Now the main topic here is going to be about the reusing of certain types of products and the non-reusing of other types of products. Number one, styrofoam. I just want you to check this out since I know I might have discussed this before. It's very sad that we don't actually have a way to ban or force certain businesses from their production and use of styrofoam. Chick-fil-A, the most notorious use of that in their shakes, their lemonades, all their soft drinks, they use styrofoam. Now, thankfully, they don't use styrofoam in their food packaging, where they give you something in terms of that being a sandwich. They use something more like a recyclable box or decomposable product box for their sandwiches, like their chicken sandwiches. But the types of material they use to keep the chicken sandwich warm with an insulated in-sleeve, I wouldn't say that's the biggest offender, but it doesn't really do much good for the planet, and I'm sure it is definitely more biodegradable than styrofoam. As I know firsthand, since I first lived here in Florida, I have taken all styrofoam from any type of product, restaurant, or any other place that I've gotten, and I've kept it, consolidated it, and broken it down using old, unusable gasoline until the point of which the gasoline had been completely absorbed and harmless to not only the environment, but to the smell to a human nose or any other animal, and also non-combustible, as I allowed it to essentially absorb all of which was the styrofoam or styrene, which is the pure concentrated form of that. I used huge, large quart size or gallon size mason jars or container type glass lids which could hold and contain safely the old unused gasoline and or mixed in acetone, which was to help it break down faster since acetone is more effective at breaking down styrofoam. If you want to do this at home, I suggest you do this in safety of an environment where there are no lighters or matches around, and you keep it away from anybody under the age of 18 or anybody that's influenced or interested in the use of flames or fire or anything that can spark a fire or any type of combustible material. So what I'm trying to suggest is that if you do this in your own safety of your own home, the cool thing about this is you can recreate from that of which is the melted styrene, which is the goopy substance formulas left behind from from the from the styrofoam, which is the compound that is broken down from polyestyrene, and then you have your styrene. Styrene is like that pure form, and the polystyrene is more so that styrofoam that hasn't quite hit that concentration of that fluffy, lightweight material that we all know as styrofoam. Styrofoam cups don't weigh anything. They're lightweight. They weigh less than anything that you'll commonly find as a storage container. And what they're so hurtful by, a lot of poor communities, even churches, still to this day hand out free hot cocoa in a styrofoam cup. And it's proven effective that any type of hot beverage that tends to sit inside of a styrofoam cup, parts of those harmful chemicals of that styrofoam cup will leach into the liquid substance of whatever that person is drinking, especially the longer that substance sits in that cup. Now, if you're concerned about cold beverages, don't worry. It's only hot beverages, hot teas, hot cocos, any type of hot liquid that's stored inside of a styrofoam cup. You're better off, honestly, with a thermos mug or a plastic cup. Um, if you're going to use a styrofoam cup, you better drink out of it quickly, which is a bummer because hot liquids generally, as they go, aren't comfortable to drink down quickly. Now, what's sad is we have banned certain types of things that we know immediately that are harmful to the planet. We're shutting against coal and certain types of things that are bad for the earth, like fracking, which creates unhealthy amounts of gas build up underneath the earth, which can be combustible or cause destabilization, any form of unsafety in the general area. With the threat of hurricanes, threat of tornadoes, threat of rain and droughts, and excessive heat, it's all too clear and all too obvious that there is a clear and evident problem that people are tending to forget. Now, since this is taking up most of my screen, I gotta minimize this camera, but not the other. That's the Elgato. Forgive my hair, it's not the best. It's been a Sunday, it's been pretty chill today. I've been watching the storm, Hurricane Ida. I just want to point out that the biggest future, this is what I'm concerned about because I have to live through this, biggest future threats, okay, in the world. We have these topics right here: drought, brush fire, nuclear weapons, water security, food insecurity, natural resources, future of humanity. Well, those are just summaries, and then existential risk. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, nuclear weapons, if it was the Cold War, I would say yes, I believe this. But the Cold War has been, the reason why they call it a Cold War is because, well, it's quite absent from any kind of existence of coming back. And the thought of nuclear weapons being something that we're going to get involved in would only come apart if there was an extreme pressurized situation where globally and in every continent, every country was pressured by the threat of being overtaken or conflict over natural resources. I know a game, first off, based off this logo right here, big fan Fallout series. It's portrayed off of a fictional world that is based off of back in the 1940s or 50s. They embraced nuclear technology and put it in their cars to power their cars. Eventually, their homes, most general powered machines, whether it be robots or any other thing in your general house that's an appliance. Talking about your radiator, your microwave, your oven, your refrigerator. You know, there's like an ever-ending list if you ever look through the Fallout game that is sponsored by the fictional history portrayal of us in that genre back in World War II, in earlier parts before World War II, in World War One, right at the end of it, embracing nuclear technology, which is what revolutionized us in the future in this fictional game world, to coming up to create this. And if you actually put two and two together between our world and the Fallout world, we did not embrace nuclear technology. If anything, we have shunned against it. And just recently, a woman I just learned about, an Asian woman, a victim of I think it was Hiroshima, yep, Hiroshima. Um, a woman who attended. This is attended. This is attended an nuclear pact or agreement. Hiroshima woman. So her right here, says Sasuko Thoro, and images for her. She is the woman who essentially just attended just recently and signed this into effect and devoted her life to peace. Okay, now I realize I started this topic on like waste and like what we can use and recycle, and how do we get to the topic of nuclear war and Armageddon and the threat of our future. The reason why I say this is something so simple as pollution, what we don't pay attention to today, the storms that we are facing, and the fact that I've already done enough research on my own level to understand that hurricanes are moving slower due to upper atmosphere troughs and the wind shears slowing the storms down. If you could think about like in the past where we didn't have such an adverse, fast-moving and awkward shift in climate, which everyone cried out that it was global climate change or warming of the planet, really the drastic level is it's more of an effect of the winds changing. And I did do something in my last video which explained that. Like the surface of the Earth essentially heated by the sun bounces back up, and that air gets trapped inside of our atmosphere, and then it gets stuck up there in the upper atmosphere like a cloud blanket, and then that air interferes with the normal troughs and wind shears that tend to push cooler air and warmer air around. It tends to collide with the natural biome system of the upper atmosphere. Not that I'm any expert on this, but what I get to understanding is that essentially what it does is it pushes, stalls, interferes, and causes weather change shifts, whether it's extreme drought or pushing warmer temperatures and rain to develop in other areas that normally didn't get it, whereas some places that used to get it now don't get it or they don't see it as often. That's an example. So you have rain developing here and no rain developing over here. And that could happen hundreds of miles away. A lot of people don't believe this, but it is a root truth because as we remove grass, we remove land, we overpopulate, we overbuild, we take out all the trees, we're removing the Earth's natural way of keeping itself cool at the surface level. And a great explanation of that, once again, I'll clarify, is that if you don't have a foundation, you don't have a roof. And everything's going to come basically collapsing down upon you. So, with storms that are happening today, as I understand this, just as an average person, learning from the experts, just like the meteorologists and people that storm chase these types of storms. Mark Rutherford is a great storm tracking guy. I've been watching him all day today. What I want to get down on a summary here is we're talking about us Americans and people worldwide stepping up to our governments, just like famous people who have already done this. And I'm gonna say this, okay, firsthand. Greta Thunberg, I truly, honestly celebrate this girl stepping up in our generation, even though I'm 31. Okay, this girl has got guts. She's got cojones. The best way I can put that, Italian in me. And she should deserve more than what she's already recognized right now, and hopefully she can revolutionize the future. The things that she's done, apart from striking out of school, still in activation and even being blamed for being angry by Donald Trump, which is ridiculous. The girl's 4'11". What does she have to be angry about? She's 18 years old. She's an environmental activist, and she's out there trying to sponsor people to care about the planet. She's doing things that I can't convert to. I'm not going to give up my car. I'm not going to give up my house. I'm not going to migrate to cultivating land because unfortunately you have to have a piece of land you can afford to live off of to become self-sustainable in the first place. She has some very strong, like, go back to, like, way back in, like, colonial retrospect kind of way of living, and almost abstract from complete society in itself. And I think she herself would be fine with this, but many people would not. So getting anybody to listen, especially the type of politics and politicians that we have today in all of our governments, they are all from the generations from back in the we'll say 1940s and 50s. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But if there's any silent generation people still living, then you have your leftovers from the baby boomers now that are in power, in control. I mean, think about this. Putin's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's keeping control of his country for decades to come until the day he dies. No one's going to question him or conquer him. And Kim Jong-un, the son of the Kim Jong-sun, if I got that right, which I probably don't, Kim Jong Il? No, Il. Sorry. Kim Jong Il, his father. From what I understand, the Kim Jong Sun. I don't even think there is a Kim Jong Sun. I mean, I don't even Sun Sung. Yeah, he's the president of North Korea. That's where I'm getting that name from. And he died quite a long time ago. I think he was even before them. It was 1948. Died in 1994. I'm sure he had some general influence or power over Kim Jong Il, as you know. There's Kim Jong. How do I best put this? No matter if it's North Korea, if it's Russia we're talking about, we as a world and as a nation have become basically selfishly self-centered toward our own focus groups and worrying about ourselves. And if we stop thinking about the out-extensional powers that be against the world, and we turn against our allies and our supporting people, and we don't have children fighting for the future, reading history books firsthand, I have a whole entire book log here about the founding fathers. I've only read one of them, I admit this, and I feel terrible that I haven't read them all because there's some really important stuff in there that explains the life story of the actual footsteps that each one of these great men of power who came from Britain, came from tyranny, and tried to rebuild a new continent and a new country, which we have today known as America. A lot of people here would denounce the fact that we were founded by the British, but the British do own this, and that's why we have so many great relationships with the British, UK, and the European allies, as well as jokesters and comedians that come from there. John Oliver, which is more recent and new, just got his citizenship here to the United States not that long ago, and I love this guy. And if I honestly have to say anything as to why I bring up these names, Greta Thunberg, she's a person of interest in our present time that really deserves more recognition for her future. And it's hopefully that good people like that will change the moods and swing people's attitudes toward realizing that if they want to have their southern traditions, they want to have their northern traditions, they want to have their Islamic traditions, you want to have Russian traditions in the future, we have to sincerely come together. If we're going to turn against each other and let things unfold, I can assure you, nuclear Armageddon is not that far away, especially if people tend to let go of reality. But I'm going to tell you right now, the worst and greatest fears that we have are definitely drought. We're talking about post-apocalyptic wasteland kind of theory, like Mad Max, as many people call it, or in not the Grand Theft Auto series. I don't know why I was even thinking that or even coming up with that reference. Uh, Fallout series. There's definitely a post-apocalyptic world where it's barren and wasteland and nothing grows, and that's only because of nuclear Armageddon having been fallen due to the fact that, unfortunately, America took the power situation of nuclear power to develop power weapons, including power armor. You can look all into this. Once again, this is fictional, based on a fictional story. You don't have to think that we're going to follow the same plot or read that story of how Fallout came to be and think, wow, this is so creepily, eerily similar to our world. First of all, once again, we do not embrace nuclear weapons. In fact, the reason why we do not is because we're afraid of what's going to essentially happen if one country launches. You're talking about everybody launching. So don't rush to that as an immediate threat. But the trigger points that would be a danger would be food, which is sad to say here in America that food would even be a threat because we produce so much food. You could feed the entire world 10 times over. You could probably feed it 100 times over. But we waste so much of it, and so does the rest of the world also fall short of wasting food. Okay? There is definitely no shortage. Our large, wealthy companies here in America and the places that push and shove manufacturers and slaughterhouses and animal farms that have squashed mom and pops and blue-collar people they used to produce these types of products to sustain our world, they push these larger chains to produce enough food and enough to make the quota, not to actually feed the world, not to sustain people's diets. Because I guarantee you, most things that are in a grocery store, and it's been going on for a long time, do not get bought up and used by their expiration date. Most of it goes wastefully in the trash and out to the dump, which is sad, very sad. And I have to say, with as much money as we wasted paying our wealthiest top elite, not that I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, don't think I'm like top 1%, gotta tax people, da, da, da. No, I'm talking like from the root core part of the blue collar individual that works their rear end off to go to their job and come back and try to feed and sustain their family. The last thing they're thinking about is that they're a part of a broken system. Our broken system is that we don't have enough Americans that are voicing their concerns and are getting their powerful message out, or even having people that want to listen. So what's it going to take? Empowering our youth to step up to the plate and take over so we can actually start taking care of problems that the older generations don't want to fix, they don't want to take responsibility for, or they're too slow to step up because they're too afraid of what they're going to lose, their power, their wealth, their nobility. I mean, come on. We're talking about a future where our children and us have to get together on this. So I'm going to continue with these videos, and hopefully I've been an inspiration to you. I hope you will continue to watch more of my videos. This is the last one for tonight, and I hope to see this video getting more noticed, man, definitely out there. Thank you again for watching. I will conclude that with this. Thank you, and bye-bye.